What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Julian coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, rise up, Falcons Nation. As you know, we are 1-2. We did take on the Indianapolis Colts yesterday, and we did lose to the Indianapolis Colts. So first off, congratulations to the Indianapolis Colts. Shout out to my boy Cheese. He's one of the Indianapolis Colts fans. He definitely was hyped about their victory yesterday, so congratulations to them. The final score, I believe, was 27-24. We didn't start the game off well. It's a bunch of stuff that I want to get into in this video. So let's hop right into it. First off, I want to send up prayers to Keanu Neal. As you know, last year he did rupture or tear his ACL. And that was the first game of the season against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was out for the season. Yesterday, this was our third game of the season against the Colts. I hear that he did rupture his Achilles or tear his Achilles, so we definitely want to send out prayers. Like I always say, I hate injuries, and I feel bad for him because this is going to be the second straight season that Keanu Neal is going to be out for the season. And as you know, ACL injuries and Achilles injuries are like two of the worst injuries because it's, of course, your lower extremities. So those are two of the worst injuries that you can have. So I'm definitely sending up prayers to him and his family that he stays encouraged through the process. Man, that was a big blow to our defense. As you know, he is our strong safety. He is the hitman, as I call him. And he is the one that patrols the middle of the field and also plays down in the box like a linebacker, kind of like Cam Chancellor was for Seattle. But moving on, I want to hop right into what went down in this game. Some of the things that I think need to be done, some adjustments that need to be made. First off, the penalties. I've been saying this on every single video. We must cut down on turnovers and these penalties. Yesterday, I believe we had 16 penalties for over 100-some yards. And Matt Ryan had another interception during this game, which is his 6th interception of the season. So we have to cut down on these penalties. Just to hop right into it, I don't know what's going on with all of these penalties, especially the ones that are controllable, like the offsides penalties, when an offensive line is jumping, like false start penalties, on the punt returns and the punt returns. It seems like every time we have a punt return, I'm getting sick and tired of our guys holding during the punt returns. So I don't know what it is, why we can continue to get these penalties. I don't know if it's bad coaching. I don't know if it's just bad execution because I'm not at these practices and I'm not too sure what the deal is. But we must get this stuff cleaned up because if we didn't have all these penalties that we had this last game, we could have won this game. It was a very winnable game. Another thing that I really want to address, I've seen a lot of Atlanta Falcons fans saying that we need to fire Dan Quinn or he's on the hot seat. I don't feel like Dan Quinn needs to be fired. I do feel like his seat is getting warm. I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat. Even if we were not to have a good season this year, depending on how the season goes down, I wouldn't fire Dan Quinn because I feel like Dan Quinn is a great coach. Even if we miss the playoffs this year, I wouldn't fire Dan Quinn. I would at least give him one more season. But one thing that I feel like we must correct on Dan Quinn's part is we need to establish what type of team that we're going to be. Because I feel like this Atlanta Falcons team has no identity right now. It's like we're all over the place. I believe that Dan Quinn wants this to be a defensively based team like Seattle was and a run the ball first type team. But our team is not built to be a run first and a defensive team. Personally, I feel like the identity of this Atlanta Falcons team is what you've seen in the second half. We have most of our weapons or majority of our weapons are on the outside in our receivers. So I personally feel like this Atlanta Falcons team identity needs to be get a lead, meaning passing, a run and pass balance, but mainly doing a lot of no huddle, using our receivers that we have on the outside with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu, Austin Hooper. Those are the primary weapons on this team. Julio Jones is making the most money other than Matt Ryan on our offense for a reason. We drafted Calvin Ridley last year in the draft, which I didn't understand at the time why we were drafting the wide receiver when we needed to address some issues that we have on the defensive side of the ball, and we hadn't addressed our offensive line issues. But anyways, going on, that's a whole nother topic. Mainly the issue I see with this team, like I was saying, is the identity. I feel like this team isn't a defensive based team. This is an offensive team. Dan Quinn he is a defensive guy, and I do understand that he's a defensive coach, and that's why he got this job, and I understand that. But I feel like if we're going to get back to our Super Bowl year, if we're going to get back to what we did well in 2016, if you remember in 2016, we were one of the highest scoring teams in the league, and that was like, we was a historical offense that year. And that's when we had Kyle Shanahan as our offensive coordinator. I feel like we need to get back to that Atlanta Falcons team. That's the type of team that we're built. We're built to be an offensive juggernaut. And the defense, all they need to do is get turnovers like they did in 2016. They don't need to be on the field. Our offense needs to be on the field more than our defense, because our defense is small. And Dan Quinn likes to have a small defense, a fast defense, and a physical defense, which I understand that. But our defense is not built to be on the field more than our offense. Because if you looked at pretty much all the games we lose as the Atlanta Falcons recently, within the last couple years, we lose to teams that are just out physical than us. If you look at the game yesterday, Matt Ryan, we started off at half down 20-3. And then in the second half, we went on Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and our offense went crazy. They went into the no huddle. They got pass happy, started passing the ball, completing passes. Matt Ryan had a great second half in that game. And to be honest, the Colts really couldn't stop our offense. They couldn't stop the weapons that we have on the outside. They couldn't stop Austin Hooper. He was going crazy. He had 2 touchdowns. Julio Jones had 2 touchdowns. They couldn't stop our passing game. So I don't know why we continue to try. I understand you don't want to turn into a team that's just throwing the ball all the time and never running the ball, because I do believe you need a balance and we need to play more ball control. But at the same time, I feel like the way that our team is built, it's still built. We still have the same nucleus that we had in 2016, meaning when we went to the Super Bowl, meaning that team was an offensive team and the defense got timely turnovers, but they weren't on the field as much as they're on the field now. Because if you look at the game yesterday, when Matt Ryan threw that touchdown to Julio Jones and we were down 24, I think it was like down 24-27. Yeah, we were down by 3 points, which turned out to be the final score. Basically, it was like 3 minutes left after we scored a touchdown. We scored a touchdown to go down 24-27. And basically, it was like 3 minutes, I believe, left in the game. We had like 2 timeouts. Our defense couldn't stop them. We couldn't stop the Colts, and we knew what the Colts were going to do. They ran the ball right down our throats. The big guy, Quentin Nelson, for their team, they ran the ball behind him all day long. And on that last drive, we knew where they were going to run the ball, and they basically ran the ball down our throat with Marlon Mack. And basically, we couldn't get a stop. To make them go 3 and out to get Matt Ryan a chance to go back down and try to score, either kick a field goal to go into overtime or win the game. And that's unexcusable. I feel like, and I don't want to just put it on Dan Quinn, because it's not on Dan Quinn. The players have to execute. And I know that some fans are going to say, we had injuries. Keanu Neal was hurt. Grady Jarrett got hurt on that last drive. Pat McKinley was hurt. But it's no excuses. It's next man up. It's no excuses. I put this on partially on Dan Quinn because I feel like certain adjustments need to be made to this defense. First off, and I don't like calling players out, but I'm just, from watching the first 3 games, for one, let me say this. It's not time to panic, Falcons fans, but it is time to make adjustments, especially because we have had injuries happen, and these are critical injuries. Keanu Neal, that was a critical blow to this defense. So I need Dan Quinn to go back to view the tapes and to make adjustments. Looking at this defense, Devondre Campbell is not playing well in coverage. Let's just be honest about it. He's playing okay in the running game, and I'm fine with having him on the field for like the first and second downs where we think the team might run, because he's a solid tackler, and he's good at pursuing the ball carrier. But on these passing downs, they're simply just picking on him, picking on him in particular, Devondre Campbell, and picking on Isaiah Oliver. But mainly it's like check downs to a running back or check downs to a wide receiver, a little curl pattern or a little out route, and they're beating Devondre Campbell to the sticks for the first down pretty much every single time. Another issue that I'm seeing, as I said, Isaiah Oliver, he's a new player. I understand he's a new starter. He was a rookie last year. I told you I was going to at least give him 8 weeks to see what he has. So I'm not going to put this all on Isaiah Oliver. But it was some blown coverages by Isaiah Oliver, and I'm getting sick and tired of seeing these blown coverages. He needs to pay attention to detail. They need to communicate on the defense. I understand with Keanu Neal going down, it was a new safety back there, and I understand that. But we cannot continue to have these blown coverages, because we be quite honest about it. We could have lost that game to the Eagles when Aguilar, it was a blown coverage between Keanu Neal and Isaiah Oliver, and Aguilar was streaking down the sideline wide open. He just happened to drop the pass. So the football gods was just on our side on that particular play. So we really could be sitting at 0-3, real talk. But I don't want to make excuses, because that's the NFL. Sometimes the ball bounces your way. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. We won the game, and that's the bottom line. But the adjustments need to be made. So I would like to see Jermaine Grace get more. Jermaine Grace and Foye Olakun, I want to see them get more playing time at that position where we have Devondre Campbell playing at that outside linebacker position. I would like to see either Foye get those snaps or Jermaine Grace get those snaps, because they're better in coverage and they're better sideline to sideline players. Because I don't know what has happened to Devondre Campbell within the last couple of years, because he used to be a very good sideline to sideline linebacker as far as fast, lateral quickness, covering tight ends and things of that nature, covering running backs, and covering wide receivers or getting out to the outside and making the tackle short of the sticks. But lately this year, he hasn't played well. Let's just be honest about it. He has not played well. And Jermaine Grace looked great in the preseason in coverage. He had 2 interceptions in the preseason. 2 of them, I believe, he took back, or at least one of them he took back to the house that got called back. So, and he looked very quick. He's a little bit smaller. He's smaller than Devondre Campbell, but he's a better sideline to sideline linebacker, a better coverage linebacker. Him and a Foye Olakun. So I would like to see Devondre Campbell get less snaps. Like I said before, I don't care if he gets some of the snaps, like on first and second down, where we think that they may just be running the ball. But on obvious passing downs, like on third downs, we need to take Devondre Campbell out of the game and put in either a Foye Olakun or Jermaine Grace. One of the two needs to be on the field covering these linebackers. Covering these running backs and covering these tight ends. On to the next thing on our defense. I feel that we might need to move DeMonte Casey back to the safety position to go back there with Rico Allen, because I believe yesterday they had Kamal Ishmael playing that position, playing in the box and also playing the strong safety. Kamal Ishmael is another player. He's a solid veteran player and he's a great locker room guy. But I feel like the same thing goes for him as what I was saying about Devondre Campbell. It was too many times where we had Kamal Ishmael covering their tight ends, and he was just a step or two too slow, where they were giving up too many. I don't know how many times they ran that little play action bootleg pass out to the right and to the left, where Kamal Ishmael or Devondre Campbell were getting burnt in the flats on these little these little out routes. And then they were getting beat, like where the team would be like, it'd be like 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6. And they'll do a little fake handoff or 2nd and 7. They'll do a little fake handoff bootleg and then swing out. The tight end will swing out to the outside and they would just do a little swing pass and they'll get beat and they'll end up getting the first down. I'm getting sick and tired of seeing the same stuff, the same mistakes being repeated. Like I said, I'm not down on this team. I did have the Falcons going to the Super Bowl. I still have the Falcons going to the Super Bowl. But some of this stuff we need to get cleaned up. And if Dan Quinn is the defensive guru that I believe he is, and I know he is, it's time to make adjustments. I understand he likes to go with guys he trusts and guys that have played well in the past. But sometimes you have to move on from players, just like we moved on from Robert Alford, and I was a Robert Alford fan. But sometimes it's just time to move on, and I feel like some of these players that's on this team, it's time to move on from them. I know Devondre Campbell, I believe this is his last year under contract, and next year he'll be a free agent. So we have a chance where we could just cut him or just let him go and let him sign elsewhere, which might be the best thing for this team. But I feel like the same thing with Kamal Ishmael. I understand with Kamal Ishmael, it's not really his fault because he was never supposed to be a starter in the first place, but due to injury, he's happened to be put on the field. But I feel like we may need to move Casey back to play some of that strong safety position, or have him and Ricardo Allen substitute positions, meaning let Ricardo Allen knows how to play all three DB positions. He can play strong safety, he can play free safety, he can play cornerback. He's proven that. So what I would do is, if you don't want to make Casey learn a whole nother position, meaning he played free safety last year when Ricardo Allen went out, I would possibly have on certain downs let Casey go back to playing free safety again. Let Ricardo Allen play the strong safety position in the box sometime and be that hitman that Keanu Neal was. And then put one of them other cornerbacks out in the slot. Like let Kendall Sheffield or Jordan Miller, one of these new guys, or Brady Wade Wilson, one of these guys, let them play the nickel position. Because right now, most of the passes I see us getting killed on, or why our teams moving the chains on us on third down mainly, is they're throwing the ball right at our linebackers. Whoever Devondre Campbell is covering, they're basically targeting him pretty much every time on third downs, like third and short. They're not even throwing really towards the Deion Jones. They're throwing directly at Devondre Campbell. That's the first place they're looking on third and short. Either to throw a quick swing pass to the running back or throw it to one of the tight ends. And most of the times, it's either Devondre Campbell out of position, getting burnt, or he's getting a penalty for holding, or whatever. But like I was saying, it wasn't just Devondre Campbell; it's his whole defense. They all were out there getting penalties, holding penalties. DeMonte Casey got called a couple times for being handsy and holding, or illegal contact. So it's not just him. A couple times Isaiah Oliver was out of position, and that's been like a reoccurring theme within these last couple games with Isaiah Oliver. He's not in position. Same thing with Devondre Campbell. Those two in particular are being targeted by every single team, and it's not going to get any better going forward. All of these teams know, okay, these guys, when they look at the tape, they're not going to throw at Trufant because they see Trufant had 2 picks in that one game. They're not going to throw at Deion Jones because those guys are proven players in coverage, that they're good coverage linebackers and a good cover DB. So they're not going to go after them. They're going to go after your weakest link. So we have to do a good job of disguising whoever our weakest link is and give them help. Another thing I feel like Dan Quinn needs to do is blitz a little bit more. As much as I don't like blitzing because you expose your corners, sometimes it's necessary because Jacoby Brissett was too comfortable in the pocket. Like at one point they were like, he's 16 for 16. That's because he's comfortable. We were not getting no pressure on the quarterback, really. He had all day to just sit back there. And any quality or decent quarterback in the NFL, if they have time to pass, they're going to be able to find out who's the weak link, or they're going to be able to find the open target. Because there was a couple times where he threw that touchdown pass to number 14 for Indianapolis, and he was basically wide open, running up the sideline to the end zone, like wide open, blown coverage. It was a couple times where I seen Isaiah Oliver. It was on one play on like a third down where they threw the ball, and it looked like he didn't realize whether he was in man or whether he was in zone, and he just stopped running, and the guy ran right up the sideline for an easy like 30-yard completion. So we just have to do a better job at scheming up blitzes, scheming up different things where we're not just being so vanilla, because right now it looks like teams have our number. For whatever reason, on the defensive side of the ball, they have our number. On the offensive side, I feel like they just need to start off a little bit faster. Because to me, we're putting ourselves in like these big holes, and these have been on the 2 road games that we have, the Vikings, and in this game, it was the same reoccurring thing. Penalties killed us, and the turnovers killed us. But in this game, it was only 1 turnover, so mainly it was penalties with us. And another thing I want to talk about on the offensive side of the ball is all of these holding penalties. We have to do a better job at teaching the technique. These players have to do a better job at executing. I don't know how many times yesterday Jamon Brown was called for holding. And I understand it's not all his fault, because the reason I said we have to get out to a faster start is because you don't want your offensive line dropping back to pass protect all game long. But being that we were down so many points, like 20-3 in the second half, we had to basically abandon the running game and basically commit to passing the ball like 80 to 85% of the time, because we were trying to get back into the game. Now, one thing that will slow down the pass rush, and I like that what Dirk Cutter did in the adjustment, whoever made the adjustment, I don't know if it was Dan Quinn or Dirk Cutter, is we went to the no huddle, which I feel like was a very good adjustment in the second half, because it tires out those pass rushers. So even if they are blitzing, if you can hold those guys, those big guys on the field, and continue to just rush up to the line and call quick plays, call plays at the line as Matt Ryan was doing, you don't allow them to substitute their players in and out, and you also slow down that pass rush. So, and I love to see that. I would love to see that going forward early in the game, in the first quarter. Go no huddle sometimes. I'm not saying go no huddle the whole game, but go no huddle sometimes just to throw the defense off balance, so Matt Ryan can get a rhythm, so our offense can get a rhythm, and so our offensive line can gain an advantage as far as tiring out the defensive line, because a lot of these teams have pass rush specialists, which on third down, they're taking out their heavier guys and putting in their pass rush specialists. So we have to do a better job at making adjustments. So in this next game coming up, I want to see more adjustments out of the Falcons on offense and on defense. Like I was saying, on defense, Dan Quinn needs to go back to the drawing board. He's supposed to be a defensive mastermind. So he needs to go in and make these adjustments. On offense, like I was saying, we need to cut down on these penalties, because I don't know how many times this season I've already seen where it's like 1st and 20 because of a holding penalty, 3rd and 15 because you keep getting behind the chains. And when you get behind the chains like that, you're just making it hard on yourself to convert, because if it's 3rd and 15, that takes some of your plays out of the book where they know, well, he's not running the ball. If it's 3rd and 15, they have to pass the ball. So what does most teams do? They play sticks defense, meaning they back all of their guys up to the first down marker, and that makes it even harder to actually convert the first down, which puts the defense back on the field, because in the first half against the Colts, to be honest, the defense just got tired out because we were going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So they basically kept going, having to be on the field. And you don't want that smallish defense. Even though we have a good defense, you do not want them on the field more than the offense. The offense is the strong point of this Atlanta Falcons team. So I don't know what Dan Quinn, thinks. I don't really care what he thinks about our defense or about this team. I just want him to make the proper adjustments. And I feel like the proper adjustments for this Atlanta Falcons team is realize that we're an offensive-minded team. It's nothing wrong with being an offensive-minded team and still being able to play physical. I want to see more, like I said, I want to see more from this team, because this team, on paper, we have one of the best rosters in the league. But the NFL comes down to coaching. Out of any sport, the NBA, the MLB, the NFL is like, coaching is a huge portion of winning games in this league, because most of these games, if you watch the games yesterday, a lot of the games came down to, like, if you watch the Tampa Bay game, it came down to a field goal. Like, most of all of these games, even the game yesterday, they usually come down to the last possession. Can a team get a stop? Can a team score at the last minute? So yesterday, that game was a winnable game. It was just we couldn't stop them. So basically, at the end of the game, we pretty much got bullied. And the last thing I want to talk about before I go ahead and get off this video is on defense. Dan Quinn needs to draft next year. If we don't have the chance of picking up somebody right now, we need to draft a defensive tackle, a real nose tackle. I love Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett is a great guy, a great player, but he's not a true nose tackle. And what I mean by that is you need a space eater in the middle. If you watch any of these teams that's contenders, New England, the teams that win consistently, the Eagles with Fletcher Cox, most of these teams, you need a space eater in the middle. Grady Jarrett is not a space eater. Grady Jarrett is like almost like a pass rusher. He's like an Aaron Donald. Grady Jarrett can penetrate and stuff like that, and he does a great job in the run because he can penetrate to the backfield. But Grady Jarrett is not a huge dude. He's a smallish nose tackle. I'm talking about we need a big space eater like a Chris Jones that plays for the Chiefs, like Fletcher Cox, like Malik Jackson. We need one of those guys that's like 300, almost 350 pounds, 320 pounds. A Deron Payne that plays for the Redskins. We need a big guy in the middle because we're getting bullied by all these teams. As much as y'all don't want to believe it, the Falcons, we're a great team. I don't want to speak negative against our team, but yesterday at the end of that game, the Colts basically bullied us. Like they ran the ball right at us, and they knew that we really couldn't stop them from running. That's why they did it. They knew we're going to be able to drain this clock. And then when we did blitz everybody, because on that last third down play, when we could have made them punt the ball, they actually did a fake draw or a fake handoff, and then they threw it right to the outside to the tight end again. I believe it was Jack Doyle. He picked up an easy first down because everybody bit down. Because why did everybody have to bite down? Even the safeties and everybody. Because we couldn't stop the run with our front four or our front seven. So we have to do a better job at stopping the run. That's another thing that we have to do with this Atlanta Falcons team. If we want to be a Super Bowl contender, you have to be able to stop the run. And also on the other side of the ball, you have to be able to run the ball, because you have to be able to run the ball when teams know you're running the ball. Like everybody in their grandma knew that the Colts were getting ready to run the ball with Marlon Mack on the last drive. But the whole thing was, what are you going to do about it? Can you stop it? If you can't stop it, they were going to win the game, and we couldn't stop them. They basically ran the ball right down our throats. And I don't want to, this is not no indictment on none of our players in general, because I feel like our defense has played well at times this season. They have played pretty well, even with stopping the run, because we held Philly to they were under 100 yards rushing. We held Philly down we stopped them from running the ball, and that was pretty much the only game this season, though. Like the Vikings, they ran the ball right at us, right at the T5 defense. Yesterday, the Colts, they ran the ball right at us. They ran right behind Quentin Nelson like the whole game, and we really didn't do nothing about it. We basically got hit in the mouth, and they kept coming. Like they felt like if you can't stop it, we're going to keep doing it until you stop it. So I hope that we're getting ready, that we're putting on our big boy pads, because this next game is going to be physical. The Tennessee Titans are another team that loves to run the ball, and I believe they're getting Taylor Lewan back, who was, I believe, their left tackle, and they're a physical team too. They have you might as well say they have two running backs, but they have Derrick Henry. He's a really big running back. So we've had trouble tackling Marlon Mack. Just imagine, Derrick Henry is built like a linebacker. He's a very big guy. So we're going to definitely have to bring our big boy pads. We're going to definitely have to penetrate. But the reason I was saying that we need to get another defensive tackle or a true nose tackle, a bigger nose tackle, is because you want a guy that can take up space next to Grady Jarrett, so Grady Jarrett doesn't deal with all these double teams. Because right now, every team we play, they're double teaming Grady Jarrett. He's still breaking through the line and penetrating, but it's just like we need somebody that can hold the point, a big guy that can hold the point. And I like Tyler Davison. Tyler Davison is doing a good job. I'm not all in on Allen Bailey. I think Allen Bailey is quality, and he can give you a couple, like he's average. He can give you a solid play, but he's not like one of the premier defensive tackles. That's why this year I wanted us to draft a defensive tackle, because it was a whole bunch of guys in this draft, big guys in the draft that came out of Clemson, Christian Wilkins. It was a lot of guys that we could have drafted. Now I wasn't mad with our draft because we went and got guys out for our offensive line to protect Matt Ryan. So I wasn't mad at that, but I was mad at the point the year that we took Calvin Ridley, because I felt like we were drafting Calvin Ridley, but we had other needs. And it was kind of like we just took the best player available, which I have no problem with that because I love Calvin Ridley. It's just like this. If you can't block, it doesn't matter if you have good weapons on the outside. If you can't protect the passer, if you can't protect your quarterback, it doesn't matter how many good receivers you have. Prime example, if you look at the Cleveland Browns right now, they have one of the best wide receiver corps in the league right now, but they can't really get the ball out quick enough because Baker Mayfield is under siege. Like, everybody's bringing pressure, It's like you can have whoever you want. You can have Jerry Rice as your wide receiver, but if you don't have a decent offensive line that can protect the passer and give it time for those plays to develop down the field, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to utilize those weapons. So that's the reason when Odell Beckham was with the New York Giants, it really didn't matter because their offensive line was so terrible that the only thing Odell Beckham really could do was catch slant patterns and try to take it to the house. He couldn't run any of those deep patterns because those plays take time to develop. And if you don't have the offensive line in the trenches to protect the quarterback, then you're going to be in for a long night. So that's another thing that I'm looking at with this Atlanta Falcons team. Our offensive line play must improve. They played a lot better in the second half, but in the first half, Matt Ryan has been under a lot of pressure. I see a lot of Atlanta Falcons fans on Matt Ryan's head right now saying that he's playing bad, he's throwing picks, he's doing this, he's doing that. But one thing that you can't deny is our offensive line has not been doing their job. Matt Ryan has been under a lot of pressure, especially in the first two games. They did a decent job yesterday of trying to protect the passer, but against the Vikings, they demolished our offensive line. And the Eagles, they pretty much demolished our offensive line too. They played a little bit better in the Eagles game than the Vikings game. But the Vikings game, they straight destroyed our offense. Their defensive line destroyed our offensive line. And then the Eagles, we did slightly better against the Eagles, but I felt like the only reason we probably played a little bit better against the Eagles is because we were at home and the crowd noise was not as bad, where it affects you hearing the calls and things of that nature on the line. So in this next game, we will be at home. I will be doing a video this week, this coming Thursday or Friday, about the Titans, breaking it down. But I'm not panicking, Falcons fans. It's not time to panic. We still can make the Super Bowl. We still can make the playoffs. We still can win our division. Because if you look around the league right now, I don't just watch the Falcons. I pretty much watch every game that's locally on TV. Yesterday, I was at Dave & Buster's because it was my son's birthday, and I was watching some of the other games. And looking at all of these teams, especially just if you just want to base it off of not even looking at the whole league, but just looking at our division. The Buccaneers, they look suspect. They lost they 1-2. The Panthers, they're 1-2, and they're looking suspect because Cam Newton is hurt. They got their first win against the Cardinals yesterday, so that's not even that impressive. The Saints, they look okay against Seattle, but we all know that Seattle's offensive line has always been their problem. So their defense really just got after Russell Wilson. I don't really put too much stock in that. Do you believe in Teddy Bridgewater, that if by the time the Falcons play them, they still have Teddy Bridgewater playing? You think that we can't beat the Saints? I mean, the Saints defense has been getting torched the whole season. Like, their secondary is terrible. Like, I talk about our secondary. The Saints secondary is worse than our secondary. So we have to do a better job, like I said, of not beating ourselves. Because a lot of these games I'm watching, we're beating ourselves with turnovers and penalties. If we can cut back on the penalties and these turnovers, we could easily be 3-0 right now. So we just have to start off stronger. Stop coming out with these slow, lethargic starts. Stop coming out so slow where we down, like in the Vikings game, we were down like 21-0 before you could blink your eye. In this last game, we were down 20-3 at halftime. If we wouldn't have that huge deficit, if Matt Ryan would have touched the ball yesterday, I can almost guarantee you we were going to score a touchdown. Because in the second half, the Colts defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. And that's no disrespect to them because they won the game. But they couldn't stop us. So we made the proper adjustments. We just have to realize, like I said, our identity, who we are. We're not a run-first team. As much as Dan Quinn want to go back to the Seattle days, we don't have Marshawn Lynch on this team. We're not a run-first team. We're a passing team. As much as we might, and you can be a tough team and be a passing team. There's nothing wrong with that. We just have to go back to what made us successful. We have to go back to the ingredients that made us a successful team. And what made us a successful team in 2016 was scoring the ball. And then once we get a lead, let our defensive line and our fast defense pin their ears back and go after the other team's quarterback. Because what will happen is if we can jump out to a lead against these teams, we can go ahead and let Vic Beasley loose, Pat McKinley loose, Grady Jarrett loose. We can let that defensive line loose where they can just go after the other team's quarterback and force them to become a passing team. Because all of these teams that we're playing against, they're trying to beat us with ball control. Meaning they're just trying to run the ball against us. That's it. They're trying to control the ball. They're trying to keep Matt Ryan and our high-power offense off the field. and they're trying to keep our defense, our smallest defense, on the field, and they're trying to run the ball right at us because they know we're a little team. That's why I said it's imperative that in this next draft we need to draft a nose tackle, a 320 to 350 pound nose tackle that can keep our linebackers clean. Because right now, if you're watching these games, these other offensive lines are getting to the second level, and we have smaller linebackers. So if you have that big nose tackle, like a 350 pounder, they can keep Deion Jones clean. They can keep Afoye Olakun clean. They can keep Devondre Campbell clean, where they can run sideline to sideline and make stops against these running backs. So with that said, it's like I was saying, it's not time to panic. I've been watching all these games around the league. It's only a couple dominant teams I'm seeing out there. The dominant teams right now I'm seeing out there, the Patriots, the Chiefs. Those are the only teams really that I see that's like a step above the rest right now. I'm not going to even say the Cowboys. And I have a lot of friends that's Cowboys fans. My wife's a Cowboys fan. But the reason I'm not going to put the Cowboys up there because they haven't played anybody. I was just talking to my guys yesterday, and I was telling them, the teams that I respect are the teams that's consistent. And the only teams that I've seen that are consistent in this league over the years, the past couple years, is the Patriots and the Chiefs. Ever since the Chiefs got Mahomes, you know what they're going to do. They're not going to try to run the ball. We should be trying to play the same way the Chiefs play. The Chiefs know that their defense isn't all that good. All they want their defense to do is try to cause a turnover so their offense can get back on the field. They know that most teams are not going to be able to keep up with their offense as far as scoring because Pat Mahomes has so many weapons. It's the same thing with Matt Ryan. If we can keep Matt Ryan upright and keep him clean, Matt Ryan is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And you can't stop Matty Ice once he's protected. Once he's protected, you've seen in 2016, when our offensive line kept Matt Ryan clean, he won the MVP. That was for a reason, because he had weapons on the outside, he had excellent pass-catching running backs, and we kept him clean. So if we can do the same thing with our current team, keep Matt Ryan clean, keep Matt Ryan upright, I guarantee you we'll make a Super Bowl run. But if we can't stop the run, if we can't keep Matt Ryan clean, it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season. I'm sorry to say it's going to be a long season. So we definitely have to get the train moving in the right direction. It starts with Dan Quinn. He needs to make these adjustments on defense. Throw out whatever you've been doing. Throw that game plan out because it hasn't been working. We need to go with what's working. We need to make some adjustments. And some of the adjustments is what I mentioned. We need to blitz more. We don't have to be blitz crazy like the Philadelphia Eagles were going blitz crazy when they played us. We don't have to go blitz crazy because you expose your corners too much. But we need to surprise some of these teams. In the offseason, Dan Quinn said this was going to be a more aggressive defense, a nasty defense. I'm seeing a nasty defense, but I'm not seeing any pressure on these quarterbacks. I'm watching these quarterbacks sitting back there doing what they want to do. Sit back there calm. Jacoby Brissett didn't look rushed, didn't look panicked or nothing yesterday. He looked like he was a veteran quarterback. He looked solid back there. But the only reason he looked solid is because he had no pressure on him pretty much the whole day. It wasn't until the second half we started to get a little bit of pressure. So I want to see more pressure out of this defense. I want to see more blitz packages from Dan Quinn. It doesn't have to be like a blitz package where you're making it obvious, where you got everybody standing at the line like how the Eagles were doing. But I want to see some disguised blitzes. Bring some cat blitzes with corners. Do some different things that they're not going to expect. Have all of your dudes on the line standing up, moving around like the amoeba defense. Do some different stuff to throw the offense off. Because right now it looks like all of the offenses that are playing us are diagnosing what we're doing. And they're not. It's basically like the cover 3 scheme where they know what's coming. So basically all they're doing is throwing the ball in the flats. Okay, let's see if our guy can beat your linebacker one-on-one to the sticks. And most of the time yesterday against the Colts, they were converting third downs easy, and our defense couldn't get off the field. And one of the reasons I felt like it was like that is because Dan Quinn was not bringing no pressure on the quarterback. He was not doing no blitz packages. You can't just rely on your front four all the time to bring pressure. That's not realistic. If you watch any of the good teams in the league, the Patriots blitz from time to time. If you look at any team that's one of the better defensive teams in the league, They blitz occasionally. Look at the Saints. The Saints don't even have a quality defense in my perspective, but they know that their corners are suspect. So what do the Saints do? They blitz a lot because they know if we let the quarterback sit back there and diagnose and play the matchups, they know that their cornerbacks can't match up. They only have one legitimate cornerback that's decent, and that's Lattimore. They know that PJ Williams, they know that Eli Apple, they're suspects, so they don't leave them out on the island. They basically bring pressure so that a quarterback can't sit back there and dissect those guys. So we need to do we need to take a page out of the Saints book, and we need to bring some more pressure. So Dan Quinn, you're not on the hot seat with me right now. I'm giving you this season to get it together, but it's time to get it together. I know y'all like me to come up here happy. I am happy, but I'm disappointed at the same time because we're not playing up to par right now. We need to get it together. This game against the Tennessee Titans, I want to see adjustments made. I don't want to see the same output with this last game. But like I said, I love bringing positive content to the Atlanta Falcons. I love covering our Atlanta Falcons. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. Please invite your Falcons friends or any football fans to the page. If you would like to donate, you can go to my Cash App. It'll be the $ and then Jew Talk Sports. If you would like to support my page, as always, I love all my Atlanta Falcons family, all of the YouTubers out there. Big ups to you guys. Keep bringing that positive Atlanta Falcons content. Like I said, the brotherhood, rise up. Like I said, I always will believe in my team. I don't never want to down my team. I'm not trying to bash nobody, but we need to get it together. It's time to get it together. I expect to be 2-2 at the end of next week, at the end of next Sunday. Let's get it. We right there. Right now, we in second place in the division. We tied with the Panthers, and we're tied with the Bucks. We all are 1-2. And the Saints are 2-1, but they got to play the Cowboys this week. So it's a chance that we can either be atop of the division or we can still remain in second place. We'll be 2-2. If the Saints lose, they'll be 2-2 as well. But if they win this week, they'll be 3-1. So we need to get it together. If the Saints can win with a backup QB, we can win with our guys. Like I said, it's just time for everybody to step up. It's time to make the proper adjustments. It's time to get our identity back. We're an offensive-minded team. It's nothing wrong with being an offensive-minded team, but you have to know who you are. You have to know where your value is on your team. And most of our money and most of our assets are on our offense. That's just how the team is built. So we have to accept that. We went out and drafted Calvin Ridley for a reason. We got Julio Jones for a reason. We have Mohamed Sanu for a reason. So let's stand up. Let's rise up. Let's do what we do. I want to see 30 points on the board next week. Let's get it. Like, we should be one of the highest scoring teams in the league. Let's go. We're one of the best offenses in the league. Let's go. We got the best wide receiver court in my point of view, in my perspective. I feel like we have the best wide receivers and tight end combo. So let's go. Let's get it. Let's stop trying to be somebody else. Let's stop trying to be the old Seattle Seahawks. That's not who we are. We're a better offensive team than Seattle was back then. Seattle they had all of their defense on their back end. We're not them. It's time for Dan Quinn to get back to our roots. And our roots is Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, those dudes on the outside. The defense, just be solid. That's all we need. We just need y'all to be top 10, top 15, cause turnovers. Matt Ryan, stop turning the ball over. Let's get it, y'all. Like I said, rise up. I'm off here. Peace and love. Enjoy your Monday. God bless. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace.